Hey, folks, I'm Craig Lipinski.
I'm Seth Castellum.
And I'm Chris Dunn.
And you're listening to episode 4 of Ludowave Radio, the sweet sounds of video game talk.
Is that our official, tagline?
No, I you know what? I wanted to come up with something new for every episode, some sort of radio DJ thing, but I can't. I had 2 weeks to think of something, and I fucking blew it.
I don't think any of us paid any attention to this podcast until literally yesterday.
I think that's accurate. Yeah. Oh shit! I got homework to do. I got to do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Now maybe I can come up with better intros. It's not a very good one, but we'll figure something. Out.
No, your voice makes it work though. I would be like,
yeah,
well,
I couldn't pull that off.
Yeah, the smooth talk of video games is like what I sound like. So I don't think that's necessarily.
Yeah, with us it's just talk. It's not smooth.
Yeah. Craig, you're like the smooth talk of video game radio.
I do have a face for radio. This is. And the voice, the face and the voice for radio. When I worked at McDonald's, people loved hearing me in drive-thru. They'd come around like, "Wow, you're really good on that thing," and I'm like, "We got a face like this. You have to make up for it somehow. What do you want me to do?"
Did you get people come through the drive-thru again just to listen to you talk?
That's never happened, but I'd be like, "Hey, welcome to McDonald's. What can I get for you today? How about 2 hot apple pies for just $1?"
Stop! I could only get so wet.
They'd be like, I was just coming through for a Coke, but yeah, now I want the apple pies.
They have banana pies right now. They have banana pies just like their apple pies, and I want one, but I hate McDonald's, so I'm just touring in here.
But banana pie sounds kind of gross, though.
Oh, banana cream pie is great.
Is that normally hot, though?
No, not at all.
So, yeah, you're going to get a deep-fried banana. Well, actually, no, a deep-fried banana pie, actually, maybe that is not too bad.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. When I worked there, we had holiday pies, and it was like a custard. It was like a hot custard. I feel like it was actually way better than hot custard. Hot custard just came out of my mouth, and I shivered because it sounds so revulsive just saying it. But they were actually really good. It's actually way better than hot custard sounds, so...
You're listening to TV and Lust. Wait, no, wrong podcast. You're listening to the Ludowave Radio, the hot sounds of hot custard.
The hot custard of video game podcasts.
Yum.
So anyway,
do the thing, guys.
We're throwing in the towel. It's like every week we figure out something within the first 5 minutes to quit over. Oh man. This is great. So the past 2 weeks for me have been really busy. I went to 2 concerts. That's all it really takes, actually, for me to be really busy. But I went to see 311, which, if you've been playing along at home, that was my favorite band when I was in high school.
Stop encouraging them, Craig.
Actually, they sell out shows, dude. I don't know. People still go see. They put on a good live show, but the problem is their live shows are so condensed to a formula now, where they play a couple of tracks from the new album because they got to sell that piece of shit, and then they play the hits, and then there are a couple of songs that have audience participation, or they have some sort of performative aspect to them. Like there's this one where they all play drums. It's a whole percussive thing, and that evolved. Like that song had a drum solo, and that drum solo now involves every member of the band playing drums, gongs, bongos. They're doing coordinated movements. They're tossing drumsticks in big arcs to each other over the stage, and I'm like, holy shit! I came to see a stoner band from the '90s, not the fucking Blue Man Group. But it's really cool. But I've seen it so many. I've been seeing them for the past 15 years. So, to me, I've seen it a million times, and just there's no deep cuts. They're not playing deep cuts. They're just they're playing the same things they've always played. So, and they give it their all. These guys are 40-something years old. They've been playing the same stupid garbage for almost 3 decades. And they get up there and they give it their all. They do put on a pretty good show. The Verve Pipe of all bands was there. I know nothing about the Verve Pipe except for the Freshman. And that was... I could take or leave that song back in the 90s, but live, that guy has a set of pipes on him. That song sounds better in person than it does on a studio album. It was fucking incredible. It sounded really good. It was an all right show. And then I went to see the New Pornographers last night, and they're my favorite band right now, and that was a lot of fun. So
Nice.
yeah, it was good.
That's awesome.
So let me just cut in here because speaking of like seeing too many bands in a row or a band too many times in a row, I saw AWOL Nation while we were not doing the podcast anymore. I saw AWOL Nation I think about 6 times in just over a year, and that band just like got progressively sadder and sadder on stage. It was very depressing.
How'd you see them 6 times? Did they just play in your area? Are they like a local? I've never heard of them. Are they just like a local band?
Oh yeah, you know AWOL Nation. I mean, they had like that huge hit in Sail, Sail do song. You know that song.
I do not. Are you being? I can never tell when you're being sarcastic because you play whatever character you play, Seth. You play it very well, and I have no idea if you're pulling my leg right now.
No, I'm absolutely not pulling your leg. No, they are a Los Angeles band, so they're not very far away. And the first time I saw them was just by happenstance because I was at a festival. And then I was like, hey, these guys are like really awesome. And they have songs that aren't just Sail, which everybody has heard of, Craig. I don't know what you're talking about.
For the record, I'm not familiar with that song either.
Where would
maybe it's just your bad singing of it, but
like literally all over the radio in like 2011, 2012, I would say.
I wasn't listening to the radio. I mean, I haven't really like listened to the radio at all, and I think like commercials too was like that big of a song where it's just like in everything. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I haven't had cable since then either.
I don't care.
This is why I haven't heard. I'm cut off. I'm cut off from the outside world.
Craig, then how the hell am I supposed to tell you where you would have heard the song?
You're the one. You're the one insisting I must have heard it. Maybe I heard it in the Cole's dressing room or something. But man, that's about it. That's the only place I could have heard this fucking song.
All right. Anyways, I saw them at a big festival in Las Vegas. Was the first time, and I was like, "Hey, these dudes are really awesome." And then I saw them like in a smaller like venue in Pomona, which is in Los Angeles County, I think. And then I saw them they're not. They for some reason they played like an EDM show, even though they're not even close to EDM, and they're like on this like own little band that was like 9 EDM songs, and like I swear there were only like 20 people there to see them. It was the saddest thing, and I just felt bad for them. And then I saw them like opening for Prophets of Rage, which is it's like Rage Against the Machine, yeah, with Cypress Hill Dude and. Anyway, and then like nobody was caring about them when they were opening for Prophets of Rage either, and it was just all very sad. It was just sad to see them like go from like playing awesome shows to nobody giving a shit about them on stage. So I don't know.
That is unfortunate. I don't think. I'm trying to think. I don't know if I've ever witnessed anything like that. I don't see too many bands like a ton of times, just a few. And so you have bands like 311 who just still have tons of people go see. I have no idea. And they're all young too. I'm like, were you a fetus when they had Down? Like what were you? And they're just children. I mean, just really young teenagers go see 311. Ironically, a lot of old people went to see New Pornographers. That one I don't understand. A lot of old people there. A lot of old dudes in golf polos. And then you have someone like Cody and Cambria, where when I got into them, they were playing like small clubs, and now I go see them and they're in giant amphitheaters and shit. So I've never seen a band that went from like playing like really big shows to like just like playing at like the local Denny's or whatever. I don't know.
It was like a weird mix of like big shows and then small venues and then like kind of big shows where nobody was paying attention to them. Because I mean, like the Prophets of Rage concert was huge. It was like gigantic.
Yeah, yeah.
But they were even like they were the middle band. It was some I don't even know who, and then AWOL Nation, and then Prophets of Rage came on, and nobody cared.
Huh?
Very few people. Strange. Of course, I guess they don't really fit with Prophets of Rage too good, but whatever.
That's a good point. Yeah. Well, what did you do in the past 2 weeks? Did you go see AWOL Nation again?
Yeah, 3 times.
Nah.
Are they getting sadder?
No, I think they're...
Did they play in your bedroom yet, or...
The saddest,
I should've
the
joked.
nexus
That's
of
horrible for me to
sadness
say.
on planet Earth.
That's that reminds me. I saw Scott Weiland of Stone Temple Pilots. Probably just a half a year before he killed himself, and he was just like playing in a little casino side room, like at a casino, like just a very small room in a casino. And I was literally like 10 feet away from the dude with like 20 people in the audience. And one of the guys I was with there was all like, "Hey, will you play my birthday party?" Because that's just how it's
And that clearly stuck with him, I guess. I don't know.
yeah. Oh God, I'm gonna tell him that. That's I haven't. I've just been busy as shit. Just this puppy is an asshole now, like the biggest fucking asshole. She's a terror. She just bites and everything, like hands and couches and feet and like literally anything. And you'll tell her like to stop biting, and then she'll like look at you. She'll lock eyes with you dead in the eye, and then she'll bite whatever you tell her not to bite while she's staring dead into your eyes. She's an asshole. So I've just had my hands full with her.
Yeah, dogs suck.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, dogs don't suck. Dogs are awesome.
Go tell Dusty he sucks right now.
Did you just call him Dusty?
Is that his name?
Is your dog named Smokey?
Yeah.
Who the fuck is Dusty?
I'm like, who's Dusty?
I'm like, did he get a new dog? Like, did I miss something? Am I the one who's an idiot? Nope, just Seth.
I like that you're the one that corrected me and not Chris. He's all like, "Oh yeah, my dog Dusty."
You said Dusty. I didn't even make the connection. I was like, what?
Oh no, my dog that died was awesome, and this dog's just a jerk. She's going to puppy classes and stuff, but she's like really good at like being obedient for like food. Like she learns tricks in like fucking 2 treats. She could sit and lay down and roll over and whatever, but like as soon as you leave her to her own devices, she's just fucking eating the house.
Wow.
Do you have any intention of like crating her?
I mean, she goes in the crate. She gets timeouts when she's like too bad, because that's what the dog obedience person said to do.
I see.
But she's just a defiant little asshole.
Nah,
That's
I couldn't do that. Cats are easy. They start scratching that shit. My cat. I mean, my 2 older ones respond to being yelled at. They know. I mean, sometimes like the instincts take over and they claw it. They do something stupid, but I can yell at them and they're like, "Oh shit, fucked up." The new one doesn't quite have that fear yet, but they all hate the water bottle, and that's why cats are like easy. Even if they don't respond to your voice, you give them a couple of spritz of that water bottle. They don't like that shit. They're not going to be eating nothing.
We actually like have a spray. It was a flea spray, but turns out she just doesn't like it in general. So she starts acting up, and now we just like show her the bottle.
Yeah,
and she's like, "Yep, that works." But that's it. Just getting eaten by dogs is what I've been up to.
I thought your house was getting eaten by dogs.
I told you she literally.
Is she literally eating you too?
She has made me bleed 3 times since I've known her over the last month.
She got a cat.
Okay.
No, cats. I'm allergic to
Cats will
cats.
make you bleed too.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good enough reason. Yeah.
Both of those were good enough reasons.
Cats are fantastic. Cats are the best pets.
I hate cats so much.
Cats
You have
hate
no idea.
Cats hate you too.
Yeah.
Not you, but people in general.
Nah, my cats love me, man. Cats are
Chris,
great.
what have you and
Shut
Dusty
the
been up
fuck up
to?
about cats.
I spent the last 5 days in Las Vegas for work, and it
For
sucked.
work.
Oh, work.
It was for work. There was a trade show going on that I had to go to. My company goes to 2 big trade shows throughout the year. They go to one in Orlando in March, and they go to one in Vegas in the summer. And Vegas in the summer is not great. It's like 110 degrees, and it doesn't really matter because I'm not outside anyway.
Vegas in the daytime isn't great. That shit's fucking ugly.
Yeah, I imagine it's
That's
pretty
true.
dirty, right? I wouldn't want to look at Vegas.
Yeah. Vegas is not really my thing. I mean, I honestly, I was saying this earlier. I think this is the best way for me to go to Vegas is when I have to go to work, because then I get a free dinner at the end of the night, and I don't have to spend my time trying to figure out where I'm going to go gamble or whatever, because I have no interest in gambling. You know, Craig, as you know, we grew up near two of the giant casinos, and I'm done with that.
Yeah, I don't go to the
you go to the casino. I don't have any interest in giving up all my money and sitting in the filtered, smoky air. It's disgusting.
Oh, it's gross. Yeah, I have to go home and like peel off all my clothes and take a shower whenever I go to the casinos. I can't. Yeah, ugh.
Yeah,
Yep.
my mom, when I was in junior high school, she'd always like want to go to the buffet at one of the Indian casinos out where I lived back there, and just come home and my entire hair, body, clothes, everything just smelling like cigarettes.
I like how you make a distinction about Indian casinos, and we just call those casinos here. Like that's
They're just casinos.
it's implicit that they're Indian casinos.
All right, I don't know.
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, I've been to one of the casinos here in Milwaukee, and I've been through the casinos in Vegas, because you can't. Every fucking hotel has a casino in it. You can't avoid it.
The grocery stores.
They all feel the same way. Like they all have that same filtered, smoky air. So I see no distinction between an Indian casino and any other casino. They all are the same, and they're all awful.
The grocery stores have slot machines in Las Vegas.
Oh yeah, the grocery stores, the airport, the gas stations, they all do.
My sister lived there for a while for work, and she said that she would like go grocery shopping, and then there would be like women breaking down crying because they spent all their grocery money in the slot machines.
Oh my god, that sounds terrible.
Yeah,
that's awful.
No, that's so fucking bad.
My first reaction was like laugh, and then I'm like, no, Craig, don't. No, that's sad. That's terrible.
I'm doing both. I'm laughing and being sad, but it's really bad. It's really bad.
Yeah. I spent the last 5 days in Vegas, and I mean, really, I was mostly in the convention center for this trade show, so I didn't have a whole lot of time to do much of anything. I played a little bit of games on the plane, but beyond that, I just didn't have a whole lot of time. And the week before that, I was at work late, and I worked on Saturday and all that. So I'm grateful to be back. I'm excited to sleep in my own bed tonight.
Nice.
Oh, sounds like I had the best 2 weeks. I win.
Absolutely. You win probably most weeks.
I did go see 311 though, so maybe it's a wash.
To be fair, I'm pretty sure yours was pretty bad last week with the car accident and all that. So
was that last? I don't know. Yeah, I recounted it last week, but yeah,
I can't keep track. I don't even know what episode we're on.
It was like a month ago. It was like I don't know. She didn't have her car for like a month. It was insane.
We don't even fucking record weekly, guys.
Hey, I'm recording very weekly right now.
All right. Yeah, I just got that.
That's not. Yeah. Wow. Okay. All right.
that joke was very weak too. So.
Anyway, I kind of want to talk about some video games.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
Let's do it. So recently, I've been playing more Breath of the Wild, predominantly due to the DLC. It did exactly what I thought it would do, and that is get me back into the game. And I love the Hero's Path feature, which shows the path that you've taken in the past 200 hours on the map, and it highlights places that you miss. And I played a lot of this game. I played about 120 hours before I stopped, and I did most things in that game. Most being defined like more than half. And I found it surprising just how many wide swaths of Hyrule I just didn't go to. For instance, there's this location just to the east of Hyrule Castle called Mount Crenel, I think, which I'm pretty sure they borrowed that name from Minish Cap, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they did.
And in the foothills of Mount Crenel is what looks like what used to be a grove of sequoias. But they're dead. They're dead now. They're cut down, and there's only tree stumps left. And they're hollow. They're hollow tree stumps. There's like these dead, giant wooden rings. And it's just this weird, unnerving, dead place. But what makes it even more unnerving is that it's not like Lost Woods where, there's spooky music and mist and everything. In fact, the sun is shining, normal sound effects and all that. And that just, to me, that feels really unnerving that you're in this dead area, but everything else is normal.
Is that where all the whiz robes are hanging out?
Yeah.
In the trees?
Yep. There's whiz robes in there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Yep. There's whiz robes in there. There's a shrine there. And I think one of the stumps had like a pond in it too. and I thought it was just a cool location. And there's a few other cool places I found, that I looked at the map and saw, well, I haven't been there. Let's go do that. But I think that was the coolest. And it's just kind of neat to find a little place like that in 120 hours I had never been to. It's just kind of crazy how many places like that in the game.
One of my favorite things when I was playing that game, I still haven't downloaded the DLC. I want to do that, but one of my favorite things was just exploring the map and just filling in the names of the locations, and seeing, I haven't been there yet. I wonder what that's called, and I wonder, what I'm going to find there. I don't even necessarily need to be looking for a shrine. It's just, like you said, just seeing what's going to be there.
It's a credit to the artists and the level designers that you can be almost anywhere on that map, and it looks and feels interesting. Like, it just feels good to walk around and explore.
Right.
Anywhere on that map. It's amazing. Were you saying something, Seth?
Did either of you find like that crazy monster deer on top of one of the mountains? I don't remember what the mountain is.
Yeah, it's like Mount Sato or Satar.
Yeah.
I thought it was named after Iwata, but I don't know. But
right.
Yeah, I found that.
Like, I would keep seeing a shining light from up there, and I'd like get up there and be gone. By the time I was up there, I was like, man. And then it just became a goal for me to figure out what the hell that light was. And then it was a goddamn monster deer. And then I got on it and I rode it around. I tried to take it to a stable, and dude's all like, "That's a god. What the hell are you doing here with it? Yeah, you're going to curse us all." And I was like, I can't keep it.
I did the same thing with one of the skeleton horses, too. I tried to take it to a stable. He's like, "Nah, you can't have that." And I'm like, what the fuck? It's a skeleton. It's cool, dude. It's fine. It's fine. Just put it in the stable.
Feeding some carrots. Feed him one of the other horses. It's cool.
No one will miss him. But that actually, I mean, that's also another thing that's really cool about that game is just, seeing something in the distance or stumbling across something and be like, holy shit, this is really fucking awesome. Just sort of solving a mystery for yourself that the game didn't necessarily tell you about over. I mean, there is actually a quest that ties into that god, Seth. But, if you don't get that quest, you just stumble across it yourself. Like, holy shit, what the fuck is this?
I did get it later to photograph it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's like the dragons. I remember when the first time I saw one of the dragons in the sky, I was like, holy shit, what the fuck is that?
Yeah. I just kept like trying to fly at it and getting electrocuted and stuff. I was like, what am I supposed to do with this thing? Because I didn't know at the time when you first see it.
See, I didn't even get that close. I just saw it off in the distance, like ribboning around in the sky. And so, like, that's even, like, weirder. It's just almost like spotting a UFO or something. And then, like, what is it? And the game doesn't necessarily drive you towards those dragons. I mean, if you play more of it, you'll eventually get closer to one, I'm sure, just incidentally. But there's no primary quest, I don't think, that drives you towards one of those dragons, right?
There's some certain shrines where you need material off the dragons.
That's right, exactly.
Right.
But I don't know if it's a quest.
Yeah, I don't think it's part of the main story. It's just shrine stuff.
And I think you can also use the materials to upgrade stuff. So, like, the dragons are a major component of side stuff, but they're these giant things in the sky that you can see in the distance, but the game will never overtly tell you about them if you just go beginning to end. It's nuts.
Yeah.
But I've been enjoying my time revisiting Hyrule. I'll probably try and get all the shrines, but the Koroks, I'm not doing all those. Fuck those guys. I played the Destiny 2 beta, which I really enjoyed. The Destiny 2 beta lets you play the first story mission, which had way more like dialogue and scripted events than the entirety of Destiny 1, which had like none. It was really cool seeing these NPCs that, the lore, told you were important people, and you saw them, you interacted with them, but they basically just acted as vendors in Destiny 1. But it's cool seeing them, doing stuff in Destiny 2, like actually being heroic, like doing things. So that was kind of fun. It also lets you play a strike, and for those not familiar with Destiny parlance, strikes are self-contained like side story missions, like basically like a Monster of the Week episode, I guess, if you will. And the idea behind those is to run those over and over again. Like you would do it like a strike playlist, and it would just load a strike, you'd play it, and then you do the next one, and then you would just keep doing. There'd be like there's only like usually like 4 of them or so at a time, and you just keep going through them. You just do them over and over again. And a lot of people didn't like that repetition. I liked doing strikes over and over again because it was like an arcade game, because you would know the enemy placement, when the bosses come in, this, that, and the other thing, and it just became like this self-imposed goal of doing it faster and better each time. And you also get loot during strikes, so it's also this loop of getting more loot and outfitting your character. And that strike was really good. It was like unlike any other strike in Destiny 1. There were, this corridor shooting. There was wide open battlefield. There was platforming. There was this giant set piece with this giant like digging machine with the rotor blades flying around, and then capped off with a pretty challenging boss. It was a really good strike. And then I did PvP. And they had Control, which is a holdover from Destiny 1, and then a new mode where you had to like defuse or arm bombs or something like that, and that's new, and I didn't really play too much of that. I was really terrible at first. I think part of it was like changes, like these tweaks that they made from Destiny 1 to 2, and also because I haven't played it in like 9 months. But then one match, suddenly something clicked, and I just became a murder machine. Like I lost maybe 2 matches after that, until the end of the beta. Like I was just smoking people, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's right, I'm actually good at this game. I completely forgot. But I really enjoyed it. Do either of you, I mean, I don't think either of you really played Destiny 1 at all. Do you have any intention of playing Destiny 2?
No, man, that game, the first one looked really bad, and I'm not going to jump in on the second based on that.
I want to check it out, but the problem is I don't usually have time to commit to, playing with other people regularly at the same time every week or whatever. So I feel like I'd buy it and I would end up, not investing the time to play it. So
to be fair,
it's not likely, but
you don't really have to. I mean, there are like occasions where you probably should be playing with other people, but I played like 300 hours of Destiny 1 and did that almost never like organizing something with people. I would say maybe 3 times I actually organized something with people. Most of that I played. I mean, you don't really play by yourself. Everything that you do, there's other people playing. But so when I say solo, I mean it was just me. I didn't have any friends. I didn't log on with any friends.
Right.
So
that's interesting to hear, because I mean a lot of the things I hear is that people schedule, they're going to play every Tuesday night or whatever. So that's kind of what I figured most people did with Destiny. But if you can play it, quote unquote solo, then that's maybe a little more interesting to me. And as long as it's still fun, it sounds like it is if you put 300 hours into it.
Well, that's entirely dependent on your taste. I mean, at first I didn't like it. I thought it was stupid, and I'm like, but I still sat there fucking playing it like a moron. I didn't like it at first, but over time, partially because of adjustments and additions that they made, and also expansions I had to buy into. I don't know why I kept paying money for it, even though I wasn't that into it. But there was a certain point where it did become good. But also, I had become invested. I had built up this Guardian, and I had spent all this time in this world. I had become invested in it. So, for all I know, the game was trash, but it was trash that I liked, maybe. I won't lie. I won't sit here and dance around the fact like Destiny has problems. But the sort of reward loops that game has, I find very satisfying. There are the story missions, there are the strikes, there's PvP, there's bounties, like there's side missions and stuff. There's all kinds of different stuff that you can do. Bungie described it as like an omnivores game. And so you don't have to like log in and feel like you're forced to play PvP or whatever. You can do whatever you want, and the rewards for any mode can help you in any other mode. So you're like, okay, I'll do some Crucible, I'll do some PvP today, and you play that, and you get a really cool ass shotgun. Well, that shotgun can help you, run a strike playlist tomorrow, and I kind of like those loops. That to me is fun.
Okay, that's interesting. I might check it out. We'll see. I'm on the fence.
I completely understand. And I played a little bit of Overwatch. A new character came out today called Doomfist, which is I hope I'm not the only one who finds that funny. It's just sort of a ridiculous name. He's a really cool character, though. He is. I only got to play him a little bit in practice because he just came out yesterday, and I wasn't home yesterday, so I got to play a little bit today. Practice him a little bit. He's primarily melee based, so he's a real terror up close. He can really fuck you up close. But he has he has pretty low health. He only has like 200 health, which is pretty low in Overwatch, and he has no like escape ability. He has like no movement, run or dash or jump jets or anything. He has no movement abilities, so he can get in there and ruin some shit, but he can go down pretty quickly too. So that's to me is a pretty interesting character. I like to play a little bit more of him, but
that's the glass cannon character.
Glass cannon. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, he has this really weird gun. Like he fires things out of like his non-Doomfist hand, out of like the knuckles, and he doesn't reload. Like each shot, there's 4 shots, one out of each knuckle, and they just sort of cool down over time. So if you fire all 4, you have to wait for each one to cool down again. It's very weird. I don't know how to describe it other than what I just said. But like his Doomfist abilities, like dashing into people, doing uppercuts, like they're pretty. You can uppercut someone into the air and then dash punch them, and then they're dead. They're fucking dead. That's it.
Nice.
But like I said, he's pretty weak too. Well, each melee blow that he lands grants him a little bit of bonus health. So I think that's what they did for him in lieu of a movement ability. So he can get in there, punch some shit, and then maybe weather a modest attack to get away. So it's sort of interesting how they're balancing him. But, I mean, he can one-hit kill people. Like, just that dash, a fully charged, like, dash punch, which has, like, a 4-second cooldown each time, will kill someone.
It's interesting the way you're, like, talking about the character and the way that, like, people are, like, still figuring him out and everything. It's all very much like fighting game characters.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely a Overwatch meta where trying to find how these characters interact with each other and how they fit in. Yeah, it's definitely like a fighting game, and especially this character because he's definitely like a fighting game character. He has one of his voice quips is combo breaker, and they're definitely playing that up.
But he's not voiced by Terry Crews, right?
He is not voiced by Terry Crews. He expressed interest in voicing him, and he did not get that. He's in Crackdown 3. I mean, you got to take the work you can get, I guess.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that tweet? I retweeted it from Terry Crews. He quote tweeted someone on Twitter who said nobody would care about Crackdown 3 if Terry Crews wasn't in it. And he quote retweeted it saying, "So then care, bitch." I thought it was, and it didn't even at Terry Crews. It was just
right.
Just
Terry Crews was just out there searching his name.
Searching his name, yeah, exactly. So he quoted, he's like, "So then care, bitch." What the fuck? Amazing. I might just buy the game based on that principle alone. Terry Crews told me to care, bitch, so I'm buying the game. Amazing. And I've also been playing Splatoon 2. Have we all been playing Splatoon 2?
I've been playing it, yeah.
I have not.
Oh, fuck you.
Piece of shit.
I got no time, man. We talked about this already.
You had your Switch in Las Vegas.
They have no Wi-Fi in Vegas, Seth.
Oh, I'm sorry, of course.
Cut off from the internet. Anyway, as we all know, except for Chris, Splatoon 2 is amazing. I've been playing a lot of that. I really like the new Salmon Run mode, which is like a horde mode. It's cooperative with 4 players, and you're just blasting away, I guess, mutated salmon. And all kinds of bosses too. Like bosses will come up each wave, and each wave doesn't just have one boss. Like there'll be several bosses each wave, and sometimes multiple bosses at a time, which is really challenging. Especially considering you don't bring in your own weapon to Salmon Run. You're given a weapon, and it's from a random allotment of weapons that time slot. So you could be stuck with a slosher bucket, which really fucking sucks against some of these bosses.
When is Salmon Run open?
Yeah, so that goes back to what I just said about that time slot. Salmon Run's only open during particular time slots, and they're not random. There is a schedule, and there's a menu in the game where you can view the schedule. I forget where it is, but it is in the game. And I'm sure if you Google it, I'm sure someone's posted it to a website too. I don't think it's like the same time like every day or anything. It's I don't know. I'm not really sure when it is, which is unfortunate. I played it mostly during launch weekend when it was up through the entire weekend. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's awful that it's tied to particular times because it's this fantastic new mode. It justifies having a 2 at the end of Splatoon 2, and they're like, nah, just certain times. And I wonder if they did that to like make it feel special, like a Splatfest, or maybe to sort of like prevent fragmenting matchmaking. Because when a game like say Overwatch or Destiny, where you have all these different modes, entering in matchmaking, it might take a couple minutes to find a group who's also looking for that same particular mode at that particular time. So maybe they did it to kind of stem that off.
All right.
I'm not sure. I mean, the game's selling very well, and it'll probably continue to sell well, so I don't foresee that being a problem. Maybe they'll take away the time restrictions in the future. I hope they do. But that's my best guess, is that they don't want to fragment matchmaking too much.
Isn't it like already the best-selling Switch game in Japan? After like its 3-day debut.
It might be. I'm not sure. I know that like Breath of the Wild at one point had a higher attach rate than there were Switches.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I bought 3 copies myself, so I definitely contributed to that.
Why?
Well, okay, so I bought a limited edition and a regular edition. And I'm not sure why I did that initially. I think it's because I ended up pre-ordering 2 Switches, and that's why I ended up with 2 copies. And I also wanted to make sure I had a copy because I wasn't sure whether my limited edition was going to get canceled. And then both my 2 physical copies of Breath of the Wild did not come in the mail until later in the day when Switch launched, and I got my Switch at midnight from GameStop. And so I downloaded a copy of Breath of the Wild, which is actually very convenient because now I can switch to Breath of the Wild whenever I want. I'm actually coming around on the idea of having my library digitally because it's super, super convenient, but the collector in me still wants the plastic shit on my shelf. So I have 2 plastic pieces of shit on my shelf and a digital copy. So, yeah, I have 3 copies.
My Switch came from Amazon, and it actually arrived a day early, so I was very tempted to download a copy of Breath of the Wild because the eShop was up, obviously, because just nobody had the system yet. But my wife wouldn't let me, which was probably a good decision because I don't need to spend $60 on a game I was already paying, $100 for the limited edition for the next day.
Yeah, so. Jackie totally made the right call there. Megan's an enabler. She's like, do whatever you want. Just do it. Yeah, you're right. I should have 4 copies because I have a Wii U copy too. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I do have a Wii U copy too, so that did not help my case.
All my physical copies are still sealed. I have 3 sealed copies of Breath of the Wild. Oh man, I forgot what we were talking about. Splatoon 2 is great though. I love it. The one thing I do miss from Splatoon 1 is a particular track, the Splatac track, which is, I guess, maybe the primary song that you hear.
Yeah.
That's an awesome song. I wish.
How's it go?
Squid Squad.
Yep, no, that's the one. That's the one. Yep.
That did sound like a thing. I did make. I'm tone deaf, dude. I don't know what things sound like. I can't make the noise.
That's what it sounded like. I'm pretty sure that was it. You nailed it. Yep. I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about when you do that. So yeah.
Okay. Good. That's an awesome track. I don't know why just all the music from Splatoon 1 wasn't in the game. That was great music. Splatoon 2 has good music too, but man, Splatoon 1, some good. I'm making the chef kissing face right now with my fingers to my lips. Mwah, that's good music.
I haven't played any of the Salmon Run. I've only been doing the single player and the Turf Wars.
Turf Wars is fantastic. Definitely not. I'm not going to get sick of that. I love that it's on a handheld now because I can just pick it up in bed and just go through a few matches. It's fucking perfect. It's amazing.
As a primarily roller player, I very much appreciate the new fling distance that you got on that paint, the vertical slice with it, so to speak. I've actually got some like really far kills with it, which is feels good.
Yeah, I've been decked a couple times with that thing.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I guess so. I like the new supers. I think all the supers are new, right?
Yeah, every single one.
Yeah,
no returns.
The splashdown is really cool. The home
one dude was in a suicide hamster ball. I want a weapon with that. I don't have that.
Yeah, I don't know what comes with that either. I don't know what that is. There's some people in levels are in their 20s, and I'm like, how? What are you doing with your life? Playing Splatoon 2. He's making good life choices. I have to be honest. You level
having more fun than us. Having more fun than us.
That is 100% true. I haven't played too much of the single player though. It's good. I mean, I like it. I almost sound reluctant when I say that, but it's just when I sit down and play, I just want to play. Something quick and easy. I don't. Right. I'm not looking to make decisions. I'm just gonna splat stuff.
I did the first two worlds. The bosses are fun. I remember the bosses in the first game were fun too, and the bosses in this one are also really creative and inventive. The second boss, it forces you what weapon you have to use the first time you play it anyway, and it's kind of like a samurai duel-off with a giant octopus samurai on a unicycle, and he also has a giant roller too. It's really fun.
That's really fucking weird. I've only done two levels in the first world, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is neat, and it is. I mean, it is, but it's just at the end of the day, just like with Splatoon 1, I didn't finish the story mode in that one either because it's good. I recognize that it's good. It's just that's not why I bought the game. In fact, if the whole game was just me running around splatting stuff and throwing grenades at people, that would be fine. I'm totally fine with that.
The first Splatoon has one of the best final boss battles in a video game, in my opinion.
That's my understanding.
It's really good.
Oh, well, maybe one of these days.
One of these days. But yeah, no, otherwise Turf War is just it's fun. It's the same shit it's been though, but
it is. They made some tweaks, but I think that it's such a winning formula. I don't know what else you're gonna do with it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And I'm still learning all the new when it brings up some of the levels that are in the first game, like Moray Towers or something. I just dominate easily because I know all the goddamn ins and outs of those levels.
Yeah.
But I'm still learning some of the new levels. The Humpback Pump Track, I think it's called. That level. There's there's a lot of height on the outside of the level, and then it goes in layers, and it's just so easy to get ambushed from above you.
The newer levels seem a little more intricate, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it as well. Absolutely.
What else have you been playing, Seth, other than Splatoon 2?
Hey Pikmin.
I just got that today, but it's still. I got that in Metopia, but they're both still sealed.
I got it yesterday. I think Best Buy delivered it early.
Nice.
I think it didn't come out till today, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, but I've been playing it since yesterday. So yeah, they delivered it early. It's fun. It reminds me of Kirby Mass Attack combined with Chibi Robo Ziplash, but not the bad parts of Chibi Robo Ziplash.
You mean the most of it?
like a roulette wheel to choose what level you go to, and just I don't know, tedious zipping around everywhere. Mm-hmm. It has good secret areas to find, like Ziplash, and there's a kind of there's also a flying robot that talks quiply to you, makes a lot of quips and pokes at you. But other than that, did you play Kirby Mass Attack?
I did.
All right, so it's not hard to make it through a lot of the levels, but the challenge comes, I think, anyways, for me, which makes it more fun, is trying to get through the levels without losing any of the Pikmin. And you do get recognition for that. You get a little special symbol on the stage clear and everything. I don't know if it unlocks anything in the long run or anything. After you clear a level, any Pikmin that you made it through the level with go to a park area, which is where your ship crash landed, and there you could set them about different tasks like clearing grass and stuff. stuff to find little hidden baubles. And the goal, like, you want to find all these baubles and stuff to, because they contain sparklium, I want to say, which is what your ship runs off of conveniently. And you need like X amount of sparklium to get your ship working again so you could get off the planet. But you're pretty much just going through levels and collecting, everyday Earth objects as you make your way through the levels, just like in the 3D Pikmin games. And they all have cute little names for them. Like I think the camera is referred to as a smile finder or a smile detector, something along those lines. And it's just, it's adorable. And I like the art style. The art style is really good. It's not, I think this is made by the same company that has been doing like the Yoshi 3DS and DS games.
Yeah, it is. I think it's Arzest, who used to be Artoon.
Right.
Which is mainly why I didn't pick this game up, because I don't think that's great pedigree, but I've been hearing good things. So
no, it's decent. Yeah, it's way better than any of the handheld Yoshi games I've played by a long shot.
I actually like the handheld Yoshi games. So hey, I'm not going to say they're the greatest games. Yoshi's Island and Yoshi's Woolly World are the two best Yoshi games. So I'm not going to say they're the best, but I like them. They scratch an itch, and so I'm kind of glad that it seems like that this it's a pretty standard platformer. It's a platformer.
Yeah, I guess it's hard to call it a platformer when you can't really jump. Like, you move around with the analog nub, and then you just throw Pikmin with the touchscreen. So you got to play with the stylus and your hand on the slider, 3D slider, whatever the fuck they call it. And you just like touch enemies to throw Pikmin at them. Touch Pikmin, bounce them off mushrooms, get them up to high places. You could climb up vines. You have a little jetpack that Olimar could use that you tap the jetpack icon, and then you could like hover a few feet off the ground for a limited amount of time to reach secret areas. But there's a lot of branching paths within the levels. And then also in the first, I've only played through the first world. In the first world as well, like one of the levels I found a secret exit, and then that made a secret level come up that was just like a full-on extra level. And then there's also mini levels that are just like one little puzzle that you have to solve to find something in this level. So it's very robust. There's a lot going on in the game.
I like to see how that plays out then, because I mean, if there's not a lot of verticality because you're not really jumping, I'm kind of interested to see how the levels actually play out. I mean, you're not walking just to the right?
No. There are vines. There are vines you could climb up, and like I said, there's some levels with mushrooms that you could bounce around on that will bring you up to higher places. But it's very platforming light overall, I would say.
I see. Okay. No, I'm interested in checking this out then.
Yeah, I think it's fun. I think that's all I've really been playing. Like I said, puppy. It's hard to watch a puppy and play games at the same time.
That is true.
The main thing I've been playing this week is playing some more Blaster Master Zero, which I talked a little bit about last week. I've gotten a bit further. I was playing it before I left, and then on the plane was the main thing that I played on the plane. So I mentioned last week that one of the things I really liked about it was the mix of, the slower paced top-down stuff and the faster paced tank stuff. And I've found that it's really mixing it up even beyond that. You're getting into new areas, and in the area I got to today, I got to I think it's area 5. You go underwater, you take the tank underwater, and it completely changes the physics. And, some of your abilities you can't use, you can't do the hover ability anymore. And since you're a tank that's underwater, you're moving a lot more slowly. So that makes it a little more slow, a little more deliberate. And there's some areas in the top-down areas where you're encountering more enemies and you're going to kill rooms and stuff, and it's making that a little more action-packed. So it's not always being the same thing. You're getting these two different gameplay styles, and then it's mixing those up even beyond that. So that's pretty cool.
They flipped that shit on its head.
Yeah, they sure did. I know because you've been playing it.
I'm sure.
I got a question about that game. I feel like we addressed that last episode, but I can't remember. The first Blaster Master had no save system whatsoever. It was a Metroidvania, Metroid-style game where you had lives and you could get a game over, which is absolutely mind-blowing to me that, you have this exploratory game and it's like, well, tough shit, you're dead. Is there a save system in this game?
Yes, it does have save points. And it also kind of does like a quick save after you beat a boss or go to a new area. So if you die, it doesn't necessarily send you back to the save point, 2 areas ago or something. It'll send you back to the beginning of that level. And then if you reset the game, obviously it'll take you back to the save point. But I think that's very helpful. I talked about this when I was playing Shantae, where if you die, it sends you back to the save point. Even if you've beaten the boss, it doesn't matter. It'll send you back before that. The save points are much more frequent in this game, and it seems to be managed very well. So
you would probably call those more like checkpoints then. You get they're like checkpoints.
Yeah, it has save points, and then it has checkpoints after the bosses. Yeah,
okay.
That's a good way to look at it.
Because that's my biggest gripe with the first game, which I love. I mean, it's such a great game, but it's a challenging game, as a lot of NES games are. And it's just strange to have a Metroid or Castlevania style exploration game that has a game over screen. Right.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, I think this game does a good job of bringing it into the modern era. It has save points. It takes advantage of the extra buttons. So, for example, you can push down the R button and hold your gun diagonally, or you can strafe while you're doing the top down areas. Which I imagine you probably couldn't do on the NES game. I haven't played the NES game, but having that button wasn't there. So,
right.
But yeah, it's super cool in that way. There's a lot of like environmental challenges that you run into too. Like I mentioned, you have to bring your tank into the water, and it kind of changes the physics and stuff. In some of the top-down areas, there's waves of water that come in, and you have to kind of dodge that and get up onto a platform and avoid it. And it's interesting the way that the different areas, you're running into different environmental challenges, which again just mix it up, and it's always kind of bringing in new things and new elements, and I like that because I mean this is not I don't think it's a super meaty game. I mean it's a remake of an NES game, and it was only $10, but it seems like there's a lot of meat on the bone there. There's some new cool visual elements too. In the area I played today, which I mentioned underwater. I'm kind of touching on that a lot because that's the thing I played most recently. But in the top down areas, there's you see shadows of the fish flying over you. You see a shadow of a giant crab that flies over you and attacks the shadow of a shark or something. But it encourages you to progress forward so that you can go see where this thing is going. It not that the story is a big part of it, but it's I want to go see where this giant crab shadow is going, and then obviously that ends up being the boss. But cool visual elements you couldn't see in an NES game, I'm assuming. I probably should have played the NES game so I could actually have a better reference. I like the stuff that I had always been interested in this game, and I had heard some good things and some bad things, like the save system or lack thereof. So I'm glad they remade it, because this definitely has a lot of what am I trying to say? A lot of what I would think are improvements based on the issues I had heard of. So it's very cool. And obviously, like you said, it's a Metroidvania thing, so you're constantly getting new abilities. You can hover, you can dash, or you can do things like that, and you can bring those back to previous areas and backtrack and find all kinds of cool upgrades and whatnot. So it's very cool. I'm really digging it. But unfortunately, it's the only thing I've had a lot of time. I had much time to play this week because I've been, like I said, very busy with work. So hopefully next week I'll have a little more to talk about.
Here's hoping.
2 weeks.
Fingers crossed.
2 weeks. How many times do I have to tell you?
You got to keep Tammy's like Seth is like, I'm not doing this every fucking week. We're doing this every 2 weeks. I want to make this abundantly clear.
2 weeks is even better. That'll give me more time to talk about to play something and talk about. So
you're not going to play shit, and you know it.
That's not true. Maybe I'll buy Destiny. No, I probably won't.
No.
I do want to check out Splatoon 2 though.
Yes, you do.
Why aren't you? Did you play the first game?
The thing is, I played a little bit of the first one, and I sometimes, what happens is I buy these games that are online focused, and then I don't play them enough when they first come out, and I feel like everybody else has played them so much that they're at such a higher level than I am. I mean, not that there's necessarily a level in the game, but at a higher skill level. and then it's harder for me to get into it. So
I don't think that matters as much as Splatoon. I think it's that's the interesting thing about Splatoon is that just shoot the ground, Chris. Like literally, just shoot the ground. Can you shoot the ground?
Which some people don't do still.
Yeah, if you can shoot the ground, you're better than those people.
Yes. You're already, and swim through the ink. Don't walk around. You don't walk around in this game.
And if someone's already shooting the ground in front of you, go in another direction and shoot that ground.
Yeah,
follow them.
Yeah. They don't need a co-painter. They got this.
I might check it out. I mean, like I said, that's kind of ends up, I feel like, mentally to me as a barrier to entry. But Splatoon, I mean, it's a Nintendo game, and Nintendo games generally are fun, and they don't have, as much of a high difficulty level as, not difficulty, but
like the barrier of entry. Is that what
yeah. I mean, I feel like Nintendo games are much more accessible in that way. So you guys are probably right, and maybe I'll check out Splatoon pretty soon.
Good plan.
Yeah, just play Splatoon, man. Is that it for games?
Yeah,
that's it for me.
All right, then we are going to talk about Netflix's new Castlevania cartoon, which I think is being heralded as like the first really decent video game adaptation into a television show. It's written by Warren Ellis, who is a comic book writer mostly, but he's also done like a few cartoons and a couple video games here and there, I think. And
anything we know?
Yeah, he was a co-writer on Dead Space.
Okay, that's not a vote of confidence for me, but all right, go on.
There's nothing wrong with the first with the first Dead Space. Yeah, and then he did like a episode of Justice League Unlimited, and he actually did the comic book arc of the Iron Man comic that that Iron Man 3 is based off of. The movie Iron Man 3 is based off the comic arc he did. Anyways, so he's a nerd. He's a nerd writer mostly. But the show, I don't know how I want to start this off. All right, so the show starts off with a woman who is approaching Dracula's castle, and she knocks out, and Dracula's like all doing his spooky thing, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, this woman's gonna get eaten, and we're gonna like see Dracula as like a bad guy, and obviously he needs to be taken out. But instead, like, she kind of puts Dracula in his place and is like, oh, don't you have any manners? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, sure, come on in. She wants to be a doctor. He likes her. He likes her gusto. He likes the cut of her jib. So he lets her in, lets her check out all his meth lab that he has going in there so that she could learn medicine. And then you go, oh, Dracula's actually like a pretty cool guy. It turns out, I think you get a cut to like 1 year later, and Dracula's walking through. No, actually, I think she gets burned first. She's burned at the stake. Yeah. So she gets burned at the stake by the church for obviously being a witch. I mean, it's the 1400s, I think, and she's a woman who's trying to do medicine, which is obviously that's like, if that's not witchcraft, I don't know what is. So she's burned at the stake. She pleads to the empty sky not to hurt the people because they don't know what they're doing because they're all idiots, which still stands true to this day, by the way. And then I think we get a cut to Dracula walking to the woman's house. It turns out, he married her. An old lady tells Dracula that she had just been murdered, burned at the stake by the church. Dracula is mad because he traveled to this woman's home as a man. He walked as a man. She pled for him to act like a man, and then he says something like, I will never do anything like a man again. He disappears in a pillar of fire. He tells everybody who just burned his wife that they're all going to die in 1 year if they don't move out of the city. We get a jump to another year.
Actually, at this point, so that's like the first, 10 minutes of the series?
Hold on. Let me just finish it off.
Well, I just want to say that there's probably spoilers. Is that should we?
Oh yeah, no. We're going to be talking about this
Okay. So
at least the first episode, just to establish.
Okay, so that was the
spoilers.
first 10 minutes. Those aren't huge spoilers. That's just a backstory. But from here on out, spoilers, I guess, right?
Spoilers, yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely spoilers. We cut one more year in the future. The church is celebrating about how Satan, quote unquote, didn't deliver on his promise because they're all very good, godly people. Then it starts raining blood. Monsters come and start killing everybody. And Dracula kept his promise, and he starts tearing shit up. Then we cut to, and I'm going to stop going after the overall plot of this right after this.
I was just wondering if you're going to recap the whole
No. We finally get to Trevor Belmont at the very, very end of the first episode and the beginning of the second episode, who is sitting in a pub and being a drunkard, and it turns out nobody likes him either because his family is also associated with the dark arts and magic and stuff like that because his family is monster hunters, vampire hunters. So I think the first thing that's super interesting about the cartoon is that it establishes Dracula as a sympathetic character.
Yeah.
Which is not the direction that I thought it would take at all.
Or a character at all, because correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, the funny thing is I've actually played most of the Castlevanias, but I don't really remember the story for most of them. But he doesn't really he's not like a developed character in any of them. He's just the final boss, right?
Right.
Absolutely. Like, he'll say some shit at the beginning of some of the games, maybe taunt you, what is a man kind of speeches, and then, and then you just kind of kick his ass at the end of the game.
That's why
he's just the bad guy. I think the Lords of Shadow games might give more of a backstory.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, those ones do. I never played the second one because the first one was like 300 hours long, and I couldn't do that. I actually really liked that game, but I couldn't do that to myself.
Yeah, same. So it establishes characters. It establishes the Dracula character first and foremost. I think it's also interesting that it paints the church in such a negative light, but I assume some people might find they might be offended by that.
But it's not necessarily entirely an accurate portrayal, though, of the church in this time period as, a governing body that desired power and feared progress and wouldn't hesitate to burn someone practicing, particularly a woman practicing science. So it's probably, you're probably right. People will probably be offended, but I don't think it's an entirely inaccurate portrayal either.
Okay. I mean, like the church is the bad guys in this cartoon.
That's the weird thing. Yeah, Dracula's not the bad. You're kind of rooting for the dude, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, yeah, they fucking deserve to die. Kill all these people. But I think an interesting point too. The church is also one of the archbishops or something that comes into power is a very corrupt person who does not necessarily care about the church. And I think there's a talking demon later on in the one of the episodes, and he even like tells the archbishop like God, and he's all like, you can't come in here, this is a house of God. And he's like, God does not exist in this house or something like that. Not that God doesn't exist at all, because obviously there's still weak to holy artifacts, crosses, holy water, stuff like that. So it's just this dude's kind of an asshole, and God has abandoned him for being as such. And I think the other interesting thing that it doesn't necessarily portray Trevor as like a badass from the get-go anyway. He's a very reluctant hero, a drunken hero, and who's sort of off his game and off his kilter, and he's just sort of living from town to town and meal to meal.
I wouldn't say he's off his game. I mean, they do portray him as someone who's not necessarily interested in being a hero, but from the moment he's like, in fights, he's immediately a badass.
He gets his ass kicked pretty good in the bar fight.
Well, that doesn't count. He was
why does? Okay, fine. All right, then he's not necessarily off his game. He's just he's not interested in being in the game.
He's inebriated.
Yeah.
I was a little unclear if he was off his game, because I think in the scene where he fights the two the priests, I think it is, and he tries to take his weapon, and he ends up cutting his finger off and then knocking out the other dude's eye, and it's like, well, that was super violent. But he acts like he's trying to do something, and he screwed up, he did the wrong thing. And then a little later, when they have the fight sequence with the Cyclops, he nails that dude right in the eye on the first try. So I don't know if he was actually supposed to be off his game or not, but he got back into it very quick, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's the best.
I thought he meant to take off his finger intentionally. I thought he was playing like,
oops, well, that's what
did
I mean.
I take your finger off?
It's hard to tell with him. He's got that Seth bit about him where you're not sure if he's fucking around or not.
That's pretty much how I felt. It was hard to tell.
And this series is surprisingly gruesome, and there's a lot of vulgarity. There's no fucking, but that's about the only thing they don't have. There's a lot of swears and a lot of
they say
body parts.
Don't see fuck.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely aimed at the man children crowd, which we're all a part of, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead. Would you like to expand on that?
Not the man children part. I guess I was just going to say just my overall perspective of the series. There was some stuff that I really enjoyed. I enjoyed some of the fight sequences. It was really cool.
Right.
Overall, though, I feel like my feelings on it are kind of lukewarm, I think is the best way to put it. Especially after, how positive people had talked about it, because maybe it is the best video game adaptation, in a TV or movie medium. That's a very low bar, because it's not bad, but it's 4 like 25-minute episodes that go basically nowhere. You can't even call it a season. That would be too generous. It's a prologue, and part of me feels like that's fine, especially now that we know there's going to be a second quote unquote season. But there's not even close to a resolution of anything. It's literally just the beginning. And they like Alucard's like, yeah, cool, I'll hang out with you guys, and that's it. The end. That's the end.
Yeah. That was my main issue with it, was that, I mean, I have no problem with just doing a short 4-episode show, and as long as they do resolve the story. But, they spend the entire first episode setting up Dracula, and then you pretty much don't see him again.
Yes.
So it definitely does feel like a prologue to something more, and hopefully they knew that was going to happen, and now they have announced the second season is coming, but if it hadn't, that would really suck. So
yeah, it feels very uneven to me. Like you said, like the first episode setting everything up with Dracula, that felt all very it was very intentional, it was all very well done.
It was very compelling.
And then it's kind of just 3 episodes of Trevor like running around getting in random fights and falling through floors probably like 80 times in a row.
Yes, yes. I was wondering what was going on. Like, who put this hole here? Who builds their city plaza over a big gaping canyon?
How do you even build it? I don't know. Anyways, Trevor falls through a lot of holes, but it does have well done action scenes. They're fun to watch, but yeah, it becomes less compelling as it goes on. It sort of felt like the story was meandering after the first episode.
Well, and they're trying to build up the posse. You got Trevor, you got Sypha. Is that her name?
Sepher?
Sepher? Is that her name? Okay. The magician, the speaker. And then you got Alucard. So they're building up this posse and showing, Trevor and the speaker working together. It shows these fight sequences. It's building up, some sort of character development for the church. I don't mind that meandering so much, because I still think that there's a little bit of substance to it. But it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't really go in. There's no payoff to that. But that's why it feels like it's meandering, because it inevitably doesn't go anywhere. And if the story actually went somewhere, it wouldn't feel so bad. And I think that's why that doesn't feel so great.
Sypha.
Okay.
We're all terrible people. I played Castlevania 3.
Is she in Castlevania 3?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Is she one of the characters you play as?
Yeah, she is one of the characters that you could partner up as and switch between, yeah.
Huh. What character? What, as a tangent, what was that? Who did you play as in that game? Because that was the first game with Alucard as well, right?
Yes. So it's Trevor is the main character, and then you could meet 3 other characters along the way. One of them's Silpha, one of them's Alucard, and then one of them's a hunchback named Grant.
I was gonna say, wasn't there like some like I was
He's like a pirate or something.
Yeah.
Was
it like a dwarf who like can climb the walls or something?
Yeah, you meet him in a bell tower, so I just went with hunchback, but he might be a pirate. But yeah, he climbs walls, and yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I thought Siffa was an original character. I didn't realize that she was in 3.
Yeah.
My mistake.
I've tried to beat Castlevania 3 like 10 times, and I want to do like my first run as solo Trevor. So every time I would meet up with these characters, I would turn them down of joining up with me, and then I just can't beat the fucking falling block part of the game, which I'm sure a lot of people know of. And so I've never actually beat it.
I've never beaten the NES games. Those games are too hard.
I beat the first 2.
I didn't play them really as a kid. So I've only really played them as an adult, and I feel like it's difficult to get back into a lot of these NES games in general, not just Castlevania, in general. Castlevania's got some stiff controls. The jumps are stiff, the stairs are ridiculous.
I played these for the first time as an adult as well. I think it took me like a week straight playing Castlevania to beat the first Castlevania.
Oh, yeah, see, I don't got that kind of patience. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. I mean, I see a lot. I mean, actually, in all 3 of them, I see a lot of great ideas, particularly great ideas for that time. But, being a modern gamer and having played a lot of Castlevanias that have come out since, and then going back to these earlier ones, I'm like, yeah, this just doesn't fucking work for me, dude. I can't do this.
Yeah, no, they're definitely archaic in a lot of ways. You gotta like figure out like the kind of shit that's gonna cheese you and kill you right away, like getting hit on stairs and then falling through them and dying and stuff like that. It's hard. It's hard to go back to.
Nah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. So yeah, overall, I guess we're all kind of lukewarm on the series. It's good. It's good for what it is. Better than I expected it to be.
Yes.
And I will say that's probably the best video game show that I've seen. And it doesn't take itself too seriously, which is good. I mean, there's a lot of lighthearted, stupid moments in it. And the animation style I like. It's kind of like a cross between Saturday morning cartoon and anime.
It's very shitty. Like, it's very shitty animation.
Go ahead.
I was going to say it's like 2 frames a second. Like there's like it's like someone doodled out on Post-it notes, and they're just flipping through the Post-it notes, and that's your animation.
Okay,
and an entirely red palette. Everything is red.
So the art style is cool, I think. The animation, you could like draw on ones, which is like a full 24 frames per second. You draw every single frame, which almost nobody does, Then there's drawing on 2s, which you draw 12 frames per second. You double every frame, and then that's how you fill out the.
Isn't that like how like anime typically does it? Don't they?
Okay, no. And then there's drawing on 3s, which is you draw 8 frames for the second, and then you triple them, and that's when you get the crazy choppy animation, and that's what's going on here and in a lot of anime as well.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say like there's some anime cutting corners here. I mean the art style is cool. I especially like the backgrounds, right? But like when people start moving, and I'm just like, whew. It's like who put someone reset the router. The lag is crazy on this thing.
And I'm not crazy about the voice acting either. I think it's serviceable, but it's not like blowing my mind in any way, shape, or form.
I think it kind of almost fits the B movie vibe, though, right?
Yeah, I'll give you that. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the second season. It's going to be 8 episodes, so at least like it should actually be able to go somewhere.
Might actually get a narrative out of this one.
Yeah, exactly. Because it had a cool setup, and then it's just Trevor running around fighting things.
Meh.
They're cool fights, though, but not a lot of substance. But we'll see where it goes. Anything else that you guys want to add?
Nah.
What do you guys think of some of the like extreme violence in this? I mean, I think it makes sense for a Castlevania series to be more adult and have, you know, some gore in it, but I feel like some of it is just a little too over the top for me. You know, I mean, when he fights the Cyclops and he like cuts off the Cyclops' head, that's cool, but when he rips like human dude's eyes out, it's a bit much for me, I think.
You fucking pussy.
No, be nice to him.
No, being a smart ass. Nah, I that didn't. For me personally, it didn't. I didn't find it bothersome, but I mean, it is definitely unnecessary. It is to an unnecessary degree. Yeah, I do agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like, I mean, maybe not what I would expect from a Castlevania series. Like I said, I expect violence and gore doesn't seem unreasonable, but some of that was just like, wow, I don't know that should be there, but
that's
I still enjoyed the show and everything. So
I think they're like trying to
when season 2 comes out.
Yeah, I mean, I think they got like the adult animation go ahead, and then they just ran with it. And sort of, I don't know. Doesn't bug me in the slightest. It just kind of reminds me of like heavy metal type of older 80s adult animation stuff.
I mean, this is Warren Ellis. I mean, he's definitely done a lot of violent stuff in the past. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, I'm cool with it. It doesn't bug me.
Okay, just curious what you guys thought.
Yeah,
like I said, I kind of feel the same way you guys do. You know, it was okay. I'll check out the second season, but I think we still have a long way to go before we get the an actual good best video game adaptation.
Yeah,
this one's right now. It's serviceable. We're at serviceable.
It's the best we can hope for.
Better than we've been. Yep. All right, so let's move on to questions that we got. So this one's from Jacob on Twitter, and he says, is there a specific game you guys would want to see made into a TV show or movie? I would be interested in a Metroid show if it was good. So anything you guys want to see made into a show or movie?
Nothing. I would be interested in a Metroid show, but like, there's no characters in Metroid, so I don't know how that would work. Like, I mean, obviously there are games where look at Other M that had characters, but I mean, I feel like the best Metroid games are the ones where Samus is alone. So I don't know really how you'd make that into an entertaining TV show with several episodes. So
maybe she has
to me, I'd like
she talks to or something.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm not saying it couldn't be cool, but I don't know in my head how that would work. To me, I mean, I feel like it's an easy answer, but Zelda, you know, I mean, it obviously have to change a lot because Link would have to talk but I would love to see a Zelda show.
They already have one of those, Chris.
Do a couple seasons based on different entries in the series or something, have a season based on Ocarina of Time and then a season based on Wind Waker or whatever. Yes, I know there's already a Zelda series and I have it on DVD and it's what it is. But
the best cartoon ever.
I think Zelda could make a great TV show if it was done right. But, I feel like Jacob's a qualifier here that if it was good is going to affect anything.
It's doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Not a lot of great video game adaptations. So
yeah.
Not necessarily a show, but like a series of, I don't know, maybe 10 shorts or so of Zelda, of just like Link exploring, adventuring, and maybe fighting a boss or large enemy here or there. I think could be pulled off really well by Genndy Tartakovsky, who just recently did the new Samurai Jack season as well. And I think just like probably like just little 5-10 minute shorts of just because he does Genndy Tartakovsky is really good with multiple camera angles going on at the same time, like really like weird, either long or should I say tall vertical shots or long stretched horizontal shots, and just like beautiful backgrounds and things to focus up close on. I think something like that would be like really cool, but I don't think not everybody would be into it, But it could be done really, really artsy. It could be done artsy and awesome looking.
I kind of like the idea of like vignettes. And I think to Chris's point when he said like, well, how do you make Metroid work? Maybe those brief vignettes of like, recognizable elements from the games, whether that's fighting a boss or getting an item or just sort of wandering and exploring. 5 to 10 minute short that, encompasses some aspect of the game briefly could work for both of those properties.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to do like a single player adventure game type of animation for sure.
But for me personally, I don't really have like a particular video game that I like to see as a movie or TV show or whatever. I don't. I generally don't enjoy video games for their stories anyway, and there's nothing in particular that I'd like to see. Now, if something did come up, if someone did make Metroid shorts or a Zelda TV show or whatever, I'd check it out. And if it was good, that's great. But I don't really have any interest in seeing those kinds of adaptations.
Sony did a couple of Gravity Rush shorts before Gravity Rush 2 came out. I wouldn't mind seeing that as a full show. It's fun. It would be like a fun, lighthearted superhero type show.
Overwatch has those shorts too. Overwatch has those character shorts that people seem to really like, and they're kind of fun. They flesh out the characters because there's no story in the game.
Right.
So there's that. I mean, those are those sort of self-contained vignettes.
But yeah, I'm not champing at the bit for anything. For any cartoon shows.
Yeah.
I like the idea of these short little videos, short clips, short films, short whatever you want to call them. Of a Zelda, getting an item or fighting a boss or something like that. There's so many different elements. It's hard to tie that stuff together because the story is so split in a lot of games. So I think shorts might be a really good way to go.
Right. I mean, that's exactly it.
If they were going to do it, which, again, like you guys said, they don't necessarily need to. I mean,
right.
For me, playing Zelda, the fun of it is playing the game, not necessarily the story. Although I like the story, but that's not why I play the game.
I think a lot of video games have stories. The problem is, like a lot of video games, when you play a game, what kind of narrative is like 50 hours long? Like, what kind of narrative is just filled with, like, oops, didn't mean to go in this room, turn around, walk out, wander around, look at the sub-screen. Like, video games are so long. There's no story. There's nothing that can sustain that kind of, like, drudgery that's in some games. And it's only because we're interacting with it that it's not a chore, that we're fighting these battles and stuff. But if we had to watch battles like that in real time, we had to watch a TV show about Link going through 12 different dungeons, I feel like we get bored.
Yeah.
So, having like a full series for a lot of games just doesn't work because I just don't think games translate that way. I think
right. You have to completely change it in order to adapt it, and then it's.
Yeah.
I mean, is it what it was? Is the
Right.
question, and then it may not be.
Right.
Did either of you see the movie Coraline?
No.
I did when it first came out, but it's been a long time.
All right. Well, that kind of reminds me of like almost a video game done as a movie, because Coraline like has to find these little objects or whatever, and she travels to like different areas to find them, and it's all done. It's kind of like a condensed, like go into each dungeon, quote unquote, to like get the end item and then bring it all together to. I don't even remember what the point of it was. I just remember thinking it was very video gamey. The way it was presented and the story that was there. I don't know what my point was exactly, but it can be done in sort of, you just condense it down. But it's not, but it doesn't make it interesting, It's I think the vignettes is the way to go for some of these. I actually had an idea for a Zelda vignette when I first thought about this a while ago, like many years ago, but I'm not going to tell you motherfuckers it because it's too good. Donate to my Patreon and I'll draw it for you. No, I don't have a Patreon. I'm lying.
All right.
We all thought you were serious because we can't tell.
No, exactly. I'm a liar. One more. This is just a comment from Jeff on Facebook, and he says, I really enjoyed the first season. The animation was really well done. I don't know about that. Even though at times the gore was over the top and the characters were interesting and seemed fun to explore. However, I wish
he's a pussy too because he thought the gore was over the top.
Yes.
No, Jeff's cool. However, I wish that there had been more character development and backstory. Show me more of Alucard's childhood. Show me more of Trevor's familial relationships. Show me less conversations about banging goats, which is...
I want more conversations about banging goats. What are you talking about?
We all know what you want, Craig. The fact that season 2 will be twice as long gives me hope that these points will be addressed, and we'll see more world building stuff next time around. I just think that the point of a Netflix series is to provide more than you can express in the video game, rather than a direct representation of what is in the video game already. Well, I don't think it's a direct representation of what's in the game already, but yeah, definitely more fleshed out stories. Who's Alucard's mother? By the way,
in the games, I don't think that's ever
in this cartoon. Like, wasn't Dracula and this chick only married for like a year before she was murdered, and then Alucard's like an adult.
Maybe he ages faster. I don't know.
All right. Did he? But he did say like he killed my mother, right? Or they killed my mother.
He might have. Yeah, no, that's a good point.
You watched this today, right, Craig?
I did, and it clearly didn't have a huge impact on me. Yeah, that sounds right that he might have said something along those lines, and I think that the viewers left with the impression that I even forget the woman's name, but that she is
Dracula's wife.
Dracula's wife is his mother, but the timeline doesn't seem to.
No, that doesn't add up at all.
I just looked it up on Wikipedia, and it says that the time jump is 20 years later when she gets burned at the stake.
Oh, she aged well.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay, so that does.
And her name is Lisa.
That's
in case we're wondering, but I don't think we were.
You're tearing me apart.
All right. I really wish, like, in the beginning, they would have done, like, a 20 years later jump. Instead, they just, like, kept throwing up years, but I didn't remember what the previous year was that was showing.
I didn't fucking come here to do math.
Yeah, nobody's keeping track of the years you're throwing up on the screen.
We can't even remember what episode this is, let alone what year they're showing in Netflix.
I think that about does it for episode 5 of the podcast, then.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. This was a great episode 5.
Let's wrap it up.
This is episode 4, Seth.
I meant to say 4.
That rascally Seth humor there. Is there anything anyone would like to add?
Yeah, thank you for continuing to listen to this podcast. We are very good at it.
After all these years, you'd think we'd be like pros, but we're still like super huge amateurs.
Oh, yeah. I think we're getting worse. Like, each episode is just worse than the last.
I can confirm I am.
I'm just very lazy. I'm just sitting here and I'm like, yeah, I'll talk into the microphone, but don't expect me to like it. Don't expect.
I'm actually putting more effort into this than I did TV and Lust, and I think I'm doing worse here. But
no, I think we're doing about the same. No, I think we're doing all right. It's just that everyone else got better, so we seem shitty in comparison. Like, other people will record. Because we're on Skype, and other people do it on Skype too, but they'll record the audio track separately and then mix them together. Fuck that! I'm not fucking doing that. I ain't got time for that shit.
That's getting paid kind of work right there.
Right. I'm going to record the garbage audio from my end, so I sound fantastic, and you guys sound like trash. And that's it. That's the way this podcast is going to work. I hope everyone's okay with that.
I'm okay with it.
I got rid of that echo from the first episode. That's about as much work as I'm going to do.
My microphone got better somehow, even though I didn't change the microphone.
Yeah.
I hope it's still better. We didn't talk about it this time.
What was that? I couldn't hear you.
So that's patreon.com/Ludowave Radio.
And patreon.com/het_and the kick.
No, stop that. We don't talk about that name anymore.
All right. Well, anyway, I want to thank everyone for listening. You can check us out on soundcloud.com/Ludowave Radio, where you can subscribe, download, comment, all that jazz. You can also find...
At least as long as SoundCloud continues to exist.
We're crossing our fingers there. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, wherever you find your podcasts. And if you have a moment, we would greatly appreciate an honest review in Apple Podcasts. That would really help us out. And you can also find Ludowave Radio on Facebook and on Twitter, at Ludowave Radio on both. Our theme song was composed exclusively for us by Morning Moon and Mercury. You can find more of his stuff at morningmoonandmercury.bandcamp.com. You can find me, Craig, on Instagram and Twitter. I am at TVNLust on both. Seth, where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter at Seth Gastelum. And Chris?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at eChrisDunn.
Nice.
Great. We're out.
Bye.